Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Just Daf It. Today we're doing the Nedarim Daf Lam Zion, number 37. A great share for you today. We're going to learn about a very fundamental idea, whether you're allowed to take pay for teaching Torah. Um, the answer might surprise you. You're going to have to justify, they have a question in yeshivas around the world. Rebbeim are not getting paid on time. They're not getting a full salary. A lot of people in Klal Yisrael are very upset about this. These are the people that are teaching our children Torah, and they're getting salaries late. They're not getting paid the right amount, equivalent with a secular teacher. Um, After reading today's Gemara, they might want to be happy they're getting paid at all, because technically a lot of Torah that you teach you're not allowed to take pay for, especially if the kids are older. So I don't know what you do with this Gemara. I mean, it's a Gemara. It's a Mefurish Gemara. It's very hard to get away from this Gemara. I'm sure there's rationalizations and terutzim. As Lipa Schmelzer says, Kol terutzim. Why not making Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael? Kol terutzim. It's all excuses. It's excuses. I don't know. But I'll tell you why I think I can get paid for being on YouTube and getting paid ad revenue. I don't think it's included. And besides the fact that I offer chidushim. We'll talk about that more in Enoch Ben Sion. Let's get into it. The bottom of Lamed Ovam and Beis. Milamdo midrash halachas v'agados havalo yilamdenu mikra. Someone who takes a neder or against someone. Shimon says, "I'm not going to. Reuven can't get benefit from me." So if he decides he has a change of heart, he doesn't want to matter neder, but he says, "I'll teach him. I want to teach him Torah." So you could teach him Medrash. Medrash, I think, is going to explain just general Gemara. The Gemara uses drasha, method of drasha, to expound various halachas. So I would say Medrash is Gemara. Halachos are like the Rif and the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Brura. And Agados are part of the Gemara. They're not the halachas part of the Gemara. However, you can't teach him Torah Shebachta. We'll see in a second why not. Mikra my time, why can't Li'oledenu? The reason being, Mishum the Kamahani, because you're doing a favor for him. You're saving him money. Apparently, the Gemara assumes at this point you can get paid, right? It costs money to hire a tutor. So you're saving him money. Midrash Nami Kamahani. Also, teach him Gemara, be a Gemara tutor. There was a point in my life when I was a Gemara tutor. In fact, my parents still advise me on the phone that I should be a Gemara tutor. And I should be tutoring everything, actually, because I was a smart guy. To make a lot of money as a tutor. First of all, there's no demand to be a tutor. Many times I hung up signs over the years trying to earn a little money to be a tutor, and no one ever called me. No one ever called me. So many times I hung up signs, no one ever wanted me as a tutor. I did tutor a child in my parents' neighborhood, a couple of their children, their friends' children. I have to say, and they're like, "Why don't you do it now?" I said, "You know how many times I looked at my watch while I was the hour of tutoring? I was tutoring kids who were, from modern Orthodox background, who were not into the learning. They barely could read a daf. They couldn't read a daf, or they didn't know what any of the words meant. I'm just translating the words for them. I felt like an art school over there. It was the hardest. Maybe all people who work at a job and sit in front of a computer all day, maybe they feel this way. That's why I always say make your vocation a vacation. It should be something that you enjoy doing. You do it even if you wouldn't get paid for it. Because otherwise you stare at the clock all day. Oh gosh, it's like slave labor. So this I enjoy doing. That's why I do it. I said, listen, I'm not making money right now, but hopefully one day I'll make money. And it's something I really enjoy doing. So I think it's a big difference. I'd rather invest in this right now to make it stronger and get monetized quicker than take cheap labor. I mean, it's getting paid for it, but at the end of the day, it's something I hate doing, and it could be it's actually Oster, especially if you're translating the Gemara like our scroll. So, you're also, when you teach someone Gemara, you're also benefiting them. You're taking a tutor's fee. Amar Shmuel, we're talking about in the Mishnah, a place where it's acceptable to take a fee for teaching Torah Shebachtav, but you don't take a fee for teaching Gemara. So the Gemara says, "My psaka." Why do we assume our Mishnah is talking about a specific case like that? So the Gemara says, "Lamed Zayim and Aleph on the top." How come Mashma that feel makom shenol schar al mikra shar le mishkal al midrash shar le mishkal? Even a place where they do charge a fee, people do charge a fee. You're allowed to take You're allowed to charge for teaching someone Torah Shebachtav, teach someone the Bible. However, teaching someone Medrash, a Gemara, you can't take. Maishna Medrash, the law. Here's a famous Gemara. Why can't you take money for teaching Medrash? Medrash is Medrash Rabbah, but really I think it means Gemara also. Right, the whole Makor is that Hashem, Moshe says, Hashem commanded me to teach you. And a couple of psukim before that, it says, right? See, I'm teaching you. Moshe is saying to Klal Yisrael, I'm teaching you the Torah, which is probably the Gemara, the laws of the Gemara, the Torah. Like Hashem commanded me. Right? Kasher tzivani Hashem, just like Hashem taught me. Ma'ani b'chinam, Hashem was saying, there's a connection between the way Hashem taught Moshe and Moshe taught Klal Yisrael. Ma'ani b'chinam, just like Hashem doesn't get paid by Moshe to teach him Torah. Afatem nami b'chinam. So too, when you teach Moshe, you teach Klal Yisrael, or anyone teaches Torah to Klal Yisrael, you can't take money for it. So the Gemara says, Mikra nami b'chinam. Mikra also should be for free, right? It says, Chukim mishpatim, the entire Torah, the entire vastness of the Torah, whether it's Torah Shabbat or Torah Shabbat Peh, you can't get paid for it. Rav Amar Skar Shimur. Rav says the reason you get paid for Mikra is not for the actual teaching of the Torah Shabbat. It's because normally you teach Mikra to younger children, and they need to be watched, right? You're paying the teacher not to teach it to them, just to keep them occupied and to watch them, so they shouldn't run out of the classroom. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Skar Pisak Taimim. Yochanan says no. When it says you're teaching Mikra for pay, that's talking about where you're teaching the trup, the cantillation, right? When I was a bar mitzvah, I had to read the entire parsha. In Haredi circles, you only have to read the maftir. That's one of the great things that growing up Haredi. Fortunately, I wasn't able to experience. You only have to read the maftir. I had to learn the entire parsha. Luckily, I only had Parsh Kadoshim, which is 63 psukim, so I got off pretty easy. So that you can take money for, because that's not teaching someone Torah. Teaching someone to a trup, that's a skill, all right? That's like, teaching someone how to sing almost, So that you can take money for singing lessons. You can take money to teach someone an art, a trade. So the Gemara says, that's Rabbi Yochanan's answer. So the Gemara is going to try to figure out which one is the real halacha. Tan, it says in our Mishnah, looking within a mikra. You can't teach mikra to a person who you took a neder that he can't get enough from you. Skar Pisak Taimim, right? According to Rabbi Yochanan, it says that you can teach Mikra, that you can't teach Mikra because of the cantillation. Therefore, you can't teach. Skar Shimur. According to Rav, the reason you can't teach Mikra is because you're taking money to watch the children. Gadol Bar Shimur. Normally, presumably, we're talking about a gadol, the person who you forbade getting hana from you, because a katan is allowed to get hana. The mitzvahs don't apply to a katan. So as we're talking about a gadol, a 13-year-old kid doesn't need to shimer, doesn't need to be watched. Either he shouldn't run out of the classroom or that people shouldn't attack him. He can defend for himself. The Gemara says, Bekatan Gasani. The Gemara answers, really, a Mishnah is talking about a katan. And what do you do with the fact that a neder shouldn't apply to a katan? Because the Gemara and the Yevama says that even though a katan, you're not mitzvah to have free show for a isur, and if he's doing an avir, you don't have to tell him not to do it. Nonetheless, you're not allowed to feed him an isur. And here, when you're teaching him Torah, you're actively giving him, you're actually doing an isur for him. You're causing him to do the avera. So the Gemara, iba katan. If we're talking about katan, ima seifa. Say the end of the Mishnah, Ava Malamed is born of mikra, but you could teach his children mikra. So if we're talking about a katan in the ratio, katan rabbanim, who? The sons of a katan, he has children of katan. So the Gemara answer is Chasur Mesra Rahachli Gasani. Really, it is talking about a katan, but the Mishnah is lacking word. It's only when they don't mikra, the katan. You shouldn't teach mikra to a katan, right? Because the Skar Shimur, Imaya Gadol, and is missing the word. If he was a Gadol, Malamdo Lo Laban of mikra, then you can teach him and his children mikra, because while he's with his children, you don't need to watch them. Meisi Beis, Yinokos Lokorim Betchila B'Shabbos, a Brisa, Gemara is going to bring. The Gemara eventually will give a different explanation, not related to our sugya, but at this point, the Gemara assumes that the basis for this brisa is in line with the svaras of Rav and Rav Yochanan. Tinokos l'korim b'tchila b'Shabbos. Children under bar mitzvah age, they're not supposed to learn something for the first time on Shabbos. They're shown in Barishon. They can review their learning. Right? When I was in Rav Yaakov Friedman's yeshiva in Beitar, Har Nof before that. he has a unique style of learning. He learned not a daf a day, an a day, and on Friday that was 5 days a week, and on Friday and Shabbos they'd review what they learned. I think he based it on this Gemara. He's supposed to review it, although it says tinokos. I guess we were babies. Anyway, you're not supposed to learn something new on Shabbos. You're supposed to only review. According to the one who says, from Yochanan, who says the reason you let it get paid is for cancellation. Makes sense, right? Must be the reason they can't learn on Shabbos. We're talking about learning the trup. Learning the trup is a strenuous thing. It's hard to remember the trup, right? Learning the trup is very hard. You have to remember what the trup is even without the trup being in the Sefer Torah. According to Rab, who says the problem with teaching Mikra is because you're taking pay or you're waiving the pay for watching them. Why can't you learn on the first time on Shabbos? I might show him Barishon. Ha'ika schar shimor to Shabbos. Right? What's the difference, right? You can't learn the first time, but you could review what you learned previously. Either way, you're taking schar for watching the children on Shabbos. The Gemara assumes that's what we're talking about over here. We're talking about a neder over here, right? A person who's forbidden from getting hana, right? He can be taught to review, but not the first time. So the Gemara says, "L'tamayich schar pisuk b'Shabbos miyasr." According to Rabbi Yochanan, what do you think? That right, you get schar for cancellation. Is that forbidden? Havlahi. Right? V'havla mishra shari. Even if you assume according to Rabbi Yochanan doesn't fit according to this price either. Because because according to Rabbi Yochanan, it would still be, right, it would be havla of Shabbos. It's not forbidden to take schar. Havlahi v'havla mishra shari. Havla, when you incorporate getting paid, you're not allowed to get paid for doing something on Shabbos. However, right, according to Rabbi Yochanan, the explanation of the Brisa, right, it would be Tinokos Lakarim B'Tchila B'Shabbos, because, right, we're talking about cancellation, right? But you do shonen al shonen, right? But you could review with them, which is not strenuous activity. So, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it implies that what? That if you would take money for cancellation, it would be usher. But the problem is that havla, right? Havla is mutter, right? Normally, when someone teaches someone cancellation for an upcoming bar mitzvah, they're learning cancellation for the first time. So you pay the guy for a year for teaching it. It's muvle. He doesn't just teach on Shabbat; he teaches during the week also. So therefore, when you're paying someone a lump sum for working for an entire year, so even if he does sometimes on Shabbos, it's called havla. The Tanya Hasocher Sapoa, the Bryce says someone who hires a worker, Lishmor Esatino, Lishmor Esapara, Lishmor Esazroim. You hire someone to watch your child, to watch a babysitter, to watch your cow, to watch your field. Einos and Loschar Shabbos. You can't pay him for one day to watch your field or to watch your babysitter on Shabbos. And therefore, since you can't pay him, if the guy watches your para, which is usher, he paid you just to watch it. So the shmira never took effect. He's not considered a shomer sachar, right? Normally, a shomer sachar is chayiv in Gneva Vaveda. However, he's not a shomer sachar. He's not allowed to be a shomer sachar on Shabbos. He's not going to get paid for it on Shabbos, and therefore, if he gets lost, he's not responsible. Maya sachar Shabbos, clear kodesh, clear shchana, clear shavua. However, if you paid him for the entire week together in one lump sum, or the entire month, or the entire year, or the entire 7 years, no schar Shabbos, you can pay him for Shabbos. And therefore, the shmira takes effect, and therefore, if it gets lost, he's responsible. So the Gemara says, the Gemara recants. The Gemara says the Bryce obviously not talking about from the prospect of someone who can't get hanaz from a neder. El Gabi Shabbos Hainu Taima Dein Korim. What's the reason the Bryce says you're not supposed to learn for the first time on Shabbos? Shum the Yifnu Avos and the Yenuki Mitzvahs of the Shabbos. The reason is they shouldn't learn new stuff on Shabbos is because obviously it's strenuous. It takes up time. And the children will be busy in their learning, and the fathers won't have time to spend with their children. That's the point of Shabbos, is to get nachas from your children and spend time with your children. This is what the article says, the pshat over here is. That's the mitzvah of Shabbos. Spend time with your children. Avos ubanim. No. Avos ubanim in the house. You talk about the sport, or you talk about lying for your buck news. um, it's the news. I give it 1 minute or less. 5 news stories a day. You talk about that stuff. You bond with your kids. You might say alternatively, different sham. Yishum the shabsa achlim v'shasin v'yakar line alma. Namar shmuel shini v'eses chilas cholamei ayim. Additionally, another reason that you shouldn't learn new stuff on Shabbos is because people eat a lot. They drink more than they usually do, and you become excessively fatigued because of the eating and drinking. That's why people take a nap on Shabbos, and they can't concentrate to learn something new. Learn something new is much harder than review something. Like Shmuel says, Shini Vesas Tchilas Cholamei, right? When you have a change, what you normally do, right? A change of routine, so it brings sickness to a person. It'll even bring stomach sickness to a person. According to the man who says Rabbi Yochanan has skar piece of time, my time lamar skar shimor. Why didn't he say Rav? The reason, because however, bonos mikabai and shimor. It says in our Mishnah doesn't distinguish between boys and girls, right? So boys, yes, maybe they need shimor. They need to be watched. So you're teaching them mikra to watch them. However, girls don't run around. They don't run out of the classroom. They sit there and they play with their dolls and their strollers. So therefore, it can't apply equally to boys and girls. According to it says my time time. Why doesn't he say like Rabbi Yochanan? Because our pisuk timim daraisa. Pisuk timim is not just a skill in art, right? It's actually part of mitzvah of limud Torah. It's part of the mitzvah of limud Torah, and like that's included in the pasuk that you can't take schar, you can't get paid for teaching Torah. The Amar of Ika Barav and Amar of Chanan Amarav, my dichsiv vayikru b'sefer Torah Elokim aforosh v'sam seichel vayavinu b'mikra vayikru b'sefer Torah vayavinu b'mikra. This is a pasuk, and Ezra came up from Bavel. He read this on Rosh Hashanah he read the Sefer Torah in front of the people in the gates of Yerushalayim. So the Gemara Darshans vayikru b'sefer Torah Elokim zem mikra. Right? He taught them on Rosh Hashanah. He taught them the actual psukim. Mefurish Targum. He taught them Targum Onkelos. He actually divided at that point into psukim, right? The Torah was written. If you look in the Sefer Torah, there's no actual ends of psukim. He divided into psukim. You know, Mikra is a piece of time. He also taught them the proper cantillation. The Amri la Elohim Masoros. He darshan this on pasuk. That's part. He equates teaching the actual psukim to a piece of time. So it's the same thing. It's a mitzvah limud Torah. Some say Elohim Masoros. Those in the Masoros. We'll see in a second. Masoros is where a word in the Torah is read differently than it's actually written. Sometimes it's not written and it's read. Sometimes it's written and it's not read. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Yitzchak says a similar teaching. Mikra sofrim, Iter sofrim, v'keryan lo ksivim, ksivim lo keryan, halach Moshe Sinai. Rabbi Yitzchak says Mikra sofrim, which is basically the way you read the Torah. But Iter sofrim, sometimes the extra Torah adds an extra word that's not necessary for the simple explanation, but it is used for a drasha. The kiryan v'lo ksivan. Sometimes you read something, even though it's not written in the Sefer Torah. Ksivan lo kiryan. Sometimes it's written, but you don't read it. Halacha Moshe Sinai. All these 4 things we derive from Halacha Moshe Sinai. Mikra sofrim. What's an example of Mikra sofrim? Where a word seemingly should be read one way, however we pronounce it differently. Eretz, eretz and aretz. Sometimes, right, you can pronounce the word eretz as eretz. Sometimes you pronounce it aretz. Right, Shammai and Mitzrim. According to the simple explanation, it should be Shamim or Mitzrim. However, we pronounce it Shamayim and Mitzrayim. Iter Sofrim, an extra word is added for the beautification of the Torah. Achar Tavoro. These are psukim. Some are in. This Achar Tavoro is talking about in Torah Bereshis, but a lot of these psukim are in Nevim and Ksuvim. Achar Tavoro. You don't have to say afterwards you go. Just say Tavoro. Achar Telech. Afterwards you go. Achar Tease. Afterwards you go into the Machane. First the singers come and then the musicians who play the instruments. Again, the kaf over there is unnecessary. It's like mountains. What's examples of psukim where you read something even though it's not written? Prat de belechto. There's a pasuk by David HaMelech. It says pras. You read the word pras, Euphrates, even though it doesn't say. Or my explanation, pras is Paris, the Sin River, and runs through France or Paris. The word ish in that pasuk, boyim de nivnasa La the plata, the word boim or la or extra. Es the hagad hugad, the word es over there. Eli the hagoren, Eli da saor. These are psukim in Megillus Rus. Halin carrying lo ksavan. So those above were written, but you don't read them. The kasvan lo carrying. What's examples where it's read, where it's written, you don't read it. Na the yisla. It says the word na in the pasuk. Yisla, top of Lamed Chet Amud Aleph. If you want to look at these psukim, go get an art scroll and look it up. Zos de ha-mitzvah. Zos in the pasuk of mitzvah. Again, you don't read that word. Yidroch de hadorech. Yidroch, a double lashon that you don't read it. Chamesh the pas negev. Chamesh in the pas negev, where it discusses the measurements of the Mishkan. Im dechi go halin. Halin ksavim al-kirin, and the aforementioned are written even though they're not actually pronounced. That's the conclusion of today's year. Stay tuned for Ian Ben Sion. We discuss something major. Taking pay for teaching Torah, teaching Gemara, teaching Chumash, teaching Mishnayos, teaching Halacha. Is it allowed? Not allowed? I will weigh in my opinion, my probably unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say the truth. This is what I believe the truth is. And I will explain why I am allowed to take pay for my thing, and I'm definitely not allowed to take pay for YouTube ad revenue. I get it one day. Stay tuned. Ian Ben Sion coming up next.